Yo, what up, my boy? We coming
What's going on
to
here?
you a week late. We had some sicknesses over here in the Spongarelli household. Your boy and Haiti lady got sick like literally that week after Thanksgiving. And then of course it finally passed through to Cruise Man last week. So like we were the house of horrors over here, but we've made
I
it
bet.
through. So we've made it through. So I figured, well, we missed last week, and it was obviously conference championship week, which is a big week to set up, the playoffs. But ultimately, everything kind of went with the chalk, and nothing really major happened with the last rankings. It was more so what was going to happen with that last spot. Was Bama going to get in? Was Bama not going to get in? It was going to come down to the Clemson SMU ACC championship game. Ultimately, Clemson bounced the tide because if SMU would have won, then obviously Clemson wouldn't have got in, and Bama probably would have got that last spot. Instead, we got two ACC teams in there, and so yeah, that was pretty much it. Everybody else kind of fit into the categories. Obviously, you had Georgia with the big win over Texas. You had Penn State bang with Oregon for a little bit. So yeah, we can talk about those couple of championship games real quick before we jump into what we think is going to happen this week coming up. Like, what was your big takeaway? I guess going back 2 weeks ago to those conference championship games.
My biggest takeaway is the Texas offense is not clicking. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Quinn Ewers or the play calling or what. It just doesn't. The last couple of weeks, it just hasn't looked right. Even when they put up a bunch of points against Florida, it's still at times it didn't look right, and they had to call a couple gadget plays to get it going. The Arkansas game, it didn't look right. Texas A&M, it didn't look right. So I can't put my finger on what's going on with Texas's offense. I'm sure with the 2 weeks off, getting some injuries healed up, and Ewers and Arch ready to go. Not sure what they're going to do. I mean, it's funny to even read comments about how much money those two could command on the free agency market, aka the transfer portal.
Yeah,
Penn State played better than I expected on offense in the Oregon game.
yeah.
And then the last really takeaway outside of Arizona State blowing out of Iowa State was SMU got out to that slow start, man. I think SMU would have won that game. I picked SMU to win, and they let Clemson jump up on them 14-0. I mean, I guess, throwing on that stage for the first time, and they once they finally settled in,
moment too big, maybe. Yeah. We said was the moment going to be too big. Yeah, I'm with you on the Texas thing. What's weird is watching Texas early in that game, like, and this has been kind of their MO, like we said, of late. They can really move it up and down the field when they want to, it seems like. And it just seems like they get stagnant in the red zone. And because like Ewers made some big time throws early in the game. Golden was getting open, they were able to run the ball with Wisner a little bit, but it was just like for a minute there, I was like, man, they're moving the ball with ease against Georgia, but they were having to settle for field goals. They missed a couple field goals with, Brett Auburn. And, so yeah, it's just weird. And so you're like, what's going on? Then you get the Beck injury at halftime, and then it gave like a little bit of a resurgence there because it's like, okay, this Georgia, we talked about Georgia and how they haven't looked right all year. And, so that kind of gave him a little shot in the arm. Gunnar Stockton came in. He's a little bit of a scrambler guy. He's a former, 5-star quarterback out of Rayburn, Georgia. Good player. I've always liked him, but we just haven't got a chance to see him play. So you're like, how is this going to be? And, then you get to the very end there and he gets almost murdered on the field. And then they end up, scoring to take the lead to get the win. And so now the big deal is, what is Sark going to do? What has he done in these is he going to play Arch more? That's what everybody wants to know. Everybody thought we were going to see a little more Arch down the stretch. You saw him in spurts against Texas A&M with his running, so like, what are we going to see, in this first game against Clemson? Is he going to play Arch a little bit more, or I don't know what's going to happen. So I think definitely the dynamic is going to be interesting to see in that game. So that was my takeaway from the SEC championship game. I think like I said, told you that Saturday night I was definitely shocked and surprised with how well Penn State offensively played against Oregon. Like they Aller played good. They put up good numbers.
Yeah.
They ran the ball well. It's just what was more, I think, disappointing was their defense, and we know Oregon is really good offensively. We know they can score, but I think we were thinking that Penn State, that front might give Gabriel a little bit of trouble. Maybe they shut the run down. But, I mean, Oregon pretty much kind of did what they wanted. It was kind of a shootout type of game. But I think I was more so surprised in Penn State. They showed me a little something like, okay, this offense, if they could put it together, they could be pretty good. So if their defense, can play up to the standard it's played most of the season, maybe they're onto something. They get SMU in the first round, and then they get a possible Boise State. So I told you too, when the rankings came out, I was like, man, Penn State got a great draw after losing that game in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
talking about the CFP.
Yeah,
they got to reseed. Like
they need to reseed, and then they got to figure out the whole Arizona State or Boise State should not be getting a first round bye, dude.
You know how I feel about the whole
Arizona State. Arizona State shouldn't get a first round bye.
No,
they need to just. It needs to be the top 8. It needs to be the top 8 teams, and whoever the top 4 are get the bye. Not conference champion winner.
Yeah, because you win a conference champion, you don't deserve, like you say, to be in that. I think that's going to be one of those things they redo.
Yeah, they're going to tweak that.
They're going to tweak that. They're going to tweak the reseeding. When they get the bigger field, maybe 2 rounds at home venues just to give those top 4 seeds the opportunity to play in front of their home venue. I mean, those are things they have to do. Like you say, Arizona State and Boise State should not be getting first round buys. I applaud them for their seasons, but no, they shouldn't.
Yeah, no, like I said, they've played good ball down the stretch, but it's more so, like I say, Arizona State's a hot team. But should they get a bye, over, some of these, like a Penn State or like a Texas or whatever? Like I say, those are the arguments that we're going to have, in the years to come. But I think they're going to tweak that to where,
it's year one. We can't go too crazy over it.
For sure. And like I say, I think for the most part, they got it right. The big question was, would a 3-loss Alabama get in? And it looked like they were going to get in if SMU would have beat Clemson and knocked them out. So
yeah. Well, you already know my opinion on it. I don't think they should have got in. And that's not because it's SEC hate. It's just I don't believe Alabama's played like a top 15 team all year. Like they've had their spurts where, of course, the first half against Texas, the LSU game, they've had too many downs than ups, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and of course, people will say, "Oh, you just say that because I want Miami to win," but I feel like Miami has been more of a consistent team all year, even with 2 losses. I mean, the 2 losses, the combined losses of 9 points, still had the number 1 offense, blah, 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 blah. But, that's just my argument. I mean, even a South Carolina team, of course, you couldn't put South Carolina in over Alabama because of the head-to-head. I definitely factor that in. But I think South Carolina's been one of the hottest teams in the country as well. But, it's tit for tat for that last spot. Clemson won, so we don't even have to worry about what the committee would have done. I just feel like they've been inconsistent all year. And the biggest thing that gets me is that I told you this. I don't know if I verbally or through text. When Alabama lost to Oklahoma, I was like, how do they only slide 6 spots? Stay in the top 12. That was a terrible loss. Miami won by 1 and dropped 3 spots. And you look at the other teams that are like falling off the cliff, and they're doing almost exactly what Alabama did. And it felt like they were rewarding Alabama for just being Alabama. It's like, at what point do we take the brands off and just reward the team for what they did for that season?
Yeah, the brand definitely had a lot to do with that.
Oh, 100%. And I get it. It's TV. It's all about TV ratings and all of that. Me more than most get that. But all I'm saying is let's get the 12 best teams in there, and there's no one that outside of an Alabama fan, because they're going to be rational about it. You can't sit here and convince me that Alabama is one of the top 12 teams in the country this season.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, they're right on the fringe. They're right. Like I thought, like basically they went from they dropped 6 spots to 13 that week of the Oklahoma loss, and ultimately they basically were slotted right there with that was 9-2. Clemson was ahead of them before they played South Carolina, and that was before you guys had lost. Because basically you guys dropped from 6 to 13, so you guys dropped 7 spots right behind them in that next ranking or whatever that came out. So I feel like they were on the fringe of that, like, because basically the final rankings were, it was Miami. It was basically the argument was Miami and Alabama. If who should have got in?
Yeah,
if there was
that's what it was going to be.
It was SMU, before, but it was like once Ward Manuel came out and said, yeah, it's pretty much set right here. It is what it is. It's going to come down to that Clemson and SMU game, and we knew. Go ahead.
So even that was Sponge. Even that argument that was going on about if just say the whole. Remember they were arguing about Alabama possibly getting in over SMU, and I'm like,
right.
If they lost, I'm glad they got it right. I'm like, how do you reward Alabama over SMU? That granted their schedule wasn't great. That's another topic for another day. That's a lot of the teams in the playoff. One loss, and their second loss is in their conference championship game.
No, well, that's like, what we
felt like
that's what we were arguing was the fact that they can't punish. They can't punish. Like that was the big question, was kind of like Georgia. Like, let's just say Texas would have knocked out Georgia, like beaten Georgia. That would have gave them their third loss. But it's like, how do you reward Georgia for having to go play in that game? And Tennessee, sitting at 7, didn't have to go play in that game to get another loss. And they, so I felt like they weren't going to punish the conference runner-up, and that was the big question. The only thing I think they would have punished them is if Clemson would have beat them 42-0, or if the way it was going where Clemson was big and they would have beat them by 3 touchdowns. That would have been where you're like, do I want to put this team in?
Yeah,
they haven't played anybody. But guess what? They made a major comeback. They probably should have won the game, and then they end up losing on a last-second field goal. So,
dude,
again, that's where.
Oh my God, that kickoff! Like, kick it out the back of the end zone.
Yeah,
Coaches, just kick it out. You find the guy. You got 100. Well, until the end of this year, you have 120 guys on your roster. Somebody's got to be able to kick it out the back of the end zone.
Yeah, well, like I said, here's the whole other part of that too. Is yes, they won that game. Clemson won the game, right? But here's the thing: do I think Clemson's better than Alabama, Miami, South Carolina, Ole Miss? No, I don't. But guess what? They won the ACC. But that's what I'm saying. So, well, that's just how it is.
Did I not say this to you 2 years? Remember us talking about this like 2 years ago when they made the announcement, and I was against conference champions getting into the playoff because of scenarios like this. Like, granted,
we talked about it with the Big Ten. The way the Big Ten was
most people say you got rid of.
Remember how we talked about it because because what it was the Big Ten, the way they had their balance of, like, the good thing is these conferences have gone away from divisions, so you can't get that side where it was fully loaded with Nebraska, or Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State were all in one. So you're like, well, damn, only one of those guys are going to make it, and then you got Iowa over here.
But even if you lose 3 non-conference games and you go undefeated in your conference, you're still playing in the championship game.
No, for sure. Like I say, I agree. So the part of the problem is I think they're always going to do automatic qualifiers for conference champions because, like, they're not going to do away with these games,
Well, of course, because the people in the room, that's their vesting interest. Ward Manuel, who's the AD of Michigan, and the other ADs in that room are going to say, this is how we make a lot of our monies because of the conference championship games.
No, for sure. And that's what I'm saying. They're not going to do away with the game anymore. It's like the genie's out of the bottle with that. So they're going to continue to play these games because they do make a lot of money. And, the good part about it is it's almost like a semi-playoff game because, Texas and Georgia are both in the playoff. SMU and Clemson are in the playoff. whatchamacallit,
Yep.
Penn State and Oregon are in the playoffs. So it's kind of like, okay, the pecking order and all that. But here's the wild part about it is Penn State benefited from losing that game, which is wild because they get to play against a 10 seed or an 11 seed. And then they get to play a team who we already talked about, Boise State, probably should be playing in this first round. That's who they get in the second round. So it's like, man, Oregon, what do you get? You get a bye.
That's great. What everyone was saying.
Then you get Tennessee or Ohio State in round 2. You know.
Yep. Well, remember that's what everyone was saying. That 5 spot is the spot everybody wants to be
right. The
in.
5 spot, yeah, the 5 spot looked like it was the spot, but it ended up being. I mean, don't get me wrong, the 5 spot and the 6 spot.
Yeah.
Well, no, everybody was talking about that 5 spot.
That's why you got to reseed.
You're going to play the 12. You're going to play the 12, and then you're going to play the weakest of the top 4. You know, and so that's where, in my opinion, Texas made out because now Texas they get Clemson, who was not in the playoff. They end up winning the ACC, and then they get Arizona State. You know, so
the 4 ultimately we both agree the 4 best teams in the country should have the four bye weeks. Or the bye week, the top 4 spots in bye week. I think most people would agree with that.
Yeah, because if you go by the rankings, you know, of the CFP, basically Arizona State is 12, who has a bye.
Yeah,
and Boise State is 9. When really Boise State shouldn't even be 9, in my opinion. But it's just they're there by default because they haven't lost any games. But like I say again, it should be Texas and Penn State are 3 and 4. You know, they probably should be having the buys, but they get a home playoff game. You know, it's going to be like I say. I'm looking forward to the. How do you like the matchups? I guess. How are you feeling about the matchups? What's your favorite matchup of the 4 games this weekend?
Obviously Tennessee, Ohio State's 1. SMU.
Yeah, rank. Let's rank them. Rank them. So you're going to rank them the best games.
Okay.
All right, good.
Yeah. So
I got
Tennessee,
Ohio
State's 1.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
For me, SMU, Penn State is 2.
Okay.
Clemson, Texas is 3. But you could flip those, and then obviously Indiana, Notre Dame is 4.
Right. Yeah. I'd probably flip those. I'd probably go Indiana
because the reason why I got SMU, Penn.
I might even go Indiana, Penn
one?
State. I might even go Tennessee, Ohio State, Indiana, Notre Dame, SMU, Penn State, and then Clemson, Texas. I think that I actually think that Indiana Notre Dame game is going to be pretty damn good.
Why do you have them 2? I'm just curious.
I feel like when you look at
that's how I feel about the SMU Penn State game.
You think SMU can play with them?
That's what I want to see. That's why I'm intrigued. I want to see that SMU offense against that Penn State defense in 20-degree weather, wide out, noon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like I say, I think it's going to be great atmosphere. It's too bad it's not a night white out, but hey, it'll still be cold and it's going to be like, I know there was snow on the ground today. So I don't know what the
2 teams that really affect the first round is SMU and Tennessee, because even Ohio State's going to be pretty cold. I don't think there's snow or anything. Indiana's used to being in Indiana, so playing in South Bend, so it doesn't affect them too much.
Yeah, no, I think, like I say, all right, let's jump into it. We'll go. That's the first game. That's Friday night's game. Indiana's taking on Notre Dame at South Bend. Friday night game. Who do you like and why? I'm leaning Indiana for some reason. I'm going to go with Cignetti, the Fighting Cignettis. You know, they've played not the greatest schedule. Obviously, we've talked about that. Their one big game in the bright lights, they got smashed by Ohio State, but they did do work on all the other teams. They beat the hell out of a lot of teams this year. Notre Dame has been playing really good ball, though. Riley Leonard is kind of a matchup problem if he's on and healthy and all that. Obviously, the game being in South Bend is a big deal. Like I said, like weather shouldn't be bad for either team because they're both from Indiana, Notre Dame, and Bloomington. So I don't know. It maybe more so because I'm just rooting for the underdog, I guess, because we got these type of matchups. So I'm rooting for the 10 to knock off the 7. So I'm rolling with IU, baby.
I feel like if Notre Dame paid attention to the Ohio State game, the Ohio State Indiana game. If I'm Marcus Freeman, I'm going to my lines of scrimmage and say, hey, we have to dominate. We have to dominate when we're trying to run the football, because that's what we know, that's what Notre Dame wants to do with Riley Leonard and Love coming out of the backfield. If they could run the ball and Riley Leonard is going to be efficient as he can, or he has been most of the year since that loss to NIU, I like Notre Dame to win. But I can see Indiana giving them fits. That up-tempo style they like to run, spread it out a little bit. But the Notre Dame defense is not that bad of a defense. It comes down to, what does Riley Leonard and that offense, what do they do? Can they move the ball? Can they put enough points up? Because we know they get a little stagnant in the passing game and they just become a run-heavy team. And can Indiana handle that?
Yeah, no, like I said, I do like the matchup of the game.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting take on, like I say, can that Indiana offense keep cranking out the numbers they had offensively on the year against a Notre Dame defense who's been playing really good? And then where does Indiana's defense stack up? Can they stop? So like, I like the two inner matchups between both of those teams. And like I say, it's going to come down to, obviously, like football, it comes down to if one team's turning the ball over, you ain't going to win. You got to take care of the football in these games. This is playoff football now. There's a whole new aspect for college football. We got playoff football.
Indiana,
like NFL,
they only had that one game, really big matchup, big time, that noon game against Ohio State. How do all these teams fare in a playoff atmosphere where these stadiums are going to be rocking? I mean, you would say it would favor Notre Dame, Ohio State, or Texas, teams that are used to being in the playoffs the last several years. But the other teams, we'll see the SMUs, the Tennessees, the Penn States, the Boise's. How does that affect them going down the line?
Yeah, see, I think, if you compare, like, Tennessee shouldn't be like in awe of playing in the Horseshoe. No. They play at a lot of big venues. Weather-wise, like I say, again, Knoxville, it still gets pretty damn cold in Knoxville, but it's not going to be as cold as in Columbus. But like I say, I don't think there's a snow forecast, but I have to look at the temperature for Saturday night.
20s. I had it somewhere and I lost it.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah,
and like I say,
it's going to be cold.
SMU going to Penn State. Now that's a whole nother animal. That's a big time atmosphere that they've had played in. Clemson's played in plenty of big games too, so they should be ready. But weather should be great in Texas. That should be But like I say, we'll see what Indiana can do. I'll roll with Indiana in this one. Like I say, I'll take the 7 points in that game. Yep. Obviously, the first game of the day on Saturday, we just talked about it, the SMU Fighting Mustangs versus the Penn State Nittany Lions. I like Penn State in this game. It's just, I don't know if I love the 8.5. I think SMU can put it this way. I think SMU can keep it close, and I can see this getting out of hand. If the moment's too big again in that type of, the ACC game, they're dropping balls, they're not playing well offensively.
I mean, the good thing is it's a noon game, so it's not at night. Because imagine being in Happy Valley at night with 100,000 just going crazy.
For sure. That whiteout is a different experience for the night game versus a noon kickoff. But how about these games on TNT, man, and HBO Max? That's just weird seeing that. It's like, I mean, it's on, and we have those channels, so it is what it is. But it's just like weird.
That's that deal,
right?
ESPN made.
Yeah.
Speaking of that. Speaking of deals, if anyone should be mad at everything that's going on in the sports world, how do you not go to the NFL and be like, hey, man, we got playoff games on Saturday. Why are you putting Saturday games on? Like, can we figure out some timing slots to change up?
We actually talked about this because I remember listening to Josh Pate talking about this last year. Saying college football in the NFL, like, look, let's get together. Like, we are your feeder system, NFL. Exactly. We are your minor leagues. We are your minor leagues. Let's work this out to where we rotate into the NFL games.
Stupid.
Like, let's marry this together. Like, hopefully this will come maybe to fruition in the next year or two. But again, like, it should be like a lead in to be like, oh, we're watching this game, and then now we get to watch the NFL game. Because you're gonna have clashing games going on at the same time in that the afternoon and evening window.
Yeah.
I forget who's playing. I know Kansas. I think Kansas City is one of the games. Is it
Kansas
City,
City's a
Houston?
noon game. I think it's a noon game.
Is it Kansas City, Houston too? I mean,
let's see.
I'm about to pull it up right now too, because I knew we were going to have.
We got to hear about the whole Mahomes drama.
Right. Yeah. So here you go. Week 16. You have Houston, Kansas City is the 1 o'clock game, and then Pittsburgh, Baltimore is your 4:30 game. You know, so
yeah, like
you're gonna have a clash of at noon Penn State, SMU, and then you're gonna have the 5 o'clock game is Clemson and Texas. You know, so yeah, it's just like
so dumb. It's
here's the problem.
It's great. You have options to watch if you're
right. If you're a fan, you're gonna have 2 TVs. You're gonna do the double screen like I do, all that good stuff. That's fine. I'll be more tuned into the college game because I love college football and these games in the NFL. Like, yes, that Pittsburgh Baltimore game is big for playoff potential. You know, Mahomes is kind of banged up. Is he going to play? Like, they're in the playoffs. But anyway, like I'll be obviously more tuned into the NFL, the college game, just because I like college more right now, and these games are huge playoffs. So.
Yeah,
but
back to this game. I like
Saturday slotted
Penn State win this one.
Yeah, I like Penn State. I'm with you. I want to see can SMU play with them, you know, or if what we learned, if all of a sudden they turned a new leaf with that offense, and they're able to run the ball like they did, and Aller's able to throw it, you get Tyler Warren involved. You know, they're finding maybe a receiver who can really be something outside. Who knows? Penn State could come out like gangbusters and smoke them. But I say, I like Penn State to win. I'd probably pick them to cover, but I would maybe take SMU to cover
right now.
Yeah. All right, the afternoon game, little ACC SEC matchup. The ACC champ Clemson Tigers are going to Texas. What's your feel on this one? Can Cade Klubnik go home and beat Quinn Ewers? That's the big one.
The way the Clemson offense has been playing, I mean, the Texas offense has been playing, I think Clemson has a chance because Clemson has a good defense. They have one of the better defenses in the country. The question's been for Clemson all season is, can they score enough points? I mean, they held South Carolina to 17 points? So we know defensively they stack up with majority of the teams in the country. Can Clemson's offense step up? I don't know. I probably would take the 11.5. But to win, I think Texas is going to win. I think they could find a way. But if Clemson won this game, it wouldn't surprise me just because of how the Texas offense has been lacking these last couple weeks. Like you say, you could do whatever between the 20s as long as you don't get in the end zone. Most D coordinators would be like, "Hey boys, as long as they don't get in the end zone, we don't care. They could have 500 yards of offense. As long as the scoreboard says 17 or less, you like your chances if you're Clemson."
Yeah, I like Texas to win the game. I don't know if they'll cover the number either. You know, you go back to basically their last 6 games of the season. You know, it was we'll take out the Georgia. We can go from that Georgia loss. You know, they lost that Georgia game the first go round. Then they came out and they obviously played a hot Vandy team that next week, and they ended up winning that. It was a 2-score game. Vandy scored a late touchdown.
It was closer than that, though.
Yeah, no, it was a 3-point game, but they were up by 2 scores, and they felt like comfortable.
Yeah,
they obviously
beat Vandy just didn't have enough on offense.
For sure.
They held serve of the game, but it never felt like they were doing enough. If they played a team with a better offense, it would have been intriguing to see like that Arkansas game. Like that Arkansas game took everything they had to win that game.
Yeah. Yeah. Ewers was 27 of 37 for 288 and 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 picks in that Vandy game, So that's where you're like, you kind of let a team hang around, like a Vandy, you throw the turnovers in there, and that's where the game, instead of being a blowout, it's a little tighter. Obviously against Florida, the Gators had no offense in that game. Defense eventually wore down. The Arkansas game was the one where, like I say, that was where you go on the road. You knew this Arkansas team was scrappy, but Ewers only threw for 176 that day. They didn't really light it up offensively, and it took everything they had to finish them off. Then they beat a bad Kentucky team, and then they beat A&M by 10, and that was more. Ewers didn't play great that day either. Arch came in and gave him a little bit of juice with the ground game. And then they had, the second loss to Georgia last 2 weeks ago, in the SEC game.
I mean, like when you look at it, you look at the offense, and you look at their skill guys, like obviously losing Baxter is huge. CJ Baxter at running.
I mean, he's been gone for the whole year, so they've been able to adapt with that. So that's not even an excuse
exactly.
Anymore.
I thought Wisner and Blue have been a good complementary backfield. You look at their skill guys; they got one of the top tight ends in the country. Their receivers with Bolden, Golden, and Bond are pretty good. So it's like, so what is it on offense? The offensive line is pretty good. You got 2 first-round projected offensive tackles. So like, what's the problem on offense? Why can't they do anything?
I even love Ryan Wingo, the freshman receiver. He's good.
So
Gunnar Helm's been great. So it's more so of Ewers is the question mark. He's been banged up a little bit early, but then he had, like, you go back to that Michigan. Oh my God, they're the greatest team ever. But obviously we realized Michigan was not very good either.
So I guess the question will be, how many plays does Arch get? Does Arch get 10 to 15 plays? And to get like situational, like Chris Leak, Tim Tebow type situation, does he get situational plays to come in and or if the offense isn't moving, does he come in for that spark?
Yeah, no, that's going to be that is a major question that's been going on. It's in it's even got to the point where you talked about it a little bit earlier about what are those 2 quarterbacks going to do? Like you can't see both of them being there again next year. No. Rumor has it that Tennessee is ready to move on from Quinn. So it's like, we'll let you carry this out. The wild part about it is, I mean, the portal window stays open 5 days after you lose your last game or you play your last game. So like, he can hold it out or whatever, but like Quinn's going to get paid a lot of money to go somewhere else too, just like Arch would. So the question is, what does Texas want to do? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if Texas is almost ready to turn the page,
I mean, you have to be, right. Like there's nothing.
You might as well do it now.
Quinn hasn't done anything this season to where I'm like, we need to drop a bag to keep this guy one more year. Like, in my opinion, especially if you got the heir apparent.
Especially if
someone has to move on.
Yeah, especially if you have the possibility chance of losing Arch just to go with Quinn for one more year. Like, nah, we ain't doing that. So
exactly,
you'd rather have Arch for possibly 2 years and say, Quinn, good luck with Belichick in North Carolina.
Someone's gonna give him a boatload. What I was reading, it's potentially you get up to $4 to $5 million for this next upcoming season.
Yeah, and like I say, why wouldn't you take it?
Because he's not going to be a first-round quarterback,
right? Exactly. Like that's why a lot of these guys, that are coming back, I think they're coming back to get a little bit more money, just because the NFL is not guaranteed. So I don't mind.
I don't blame him whatsoever. It's a business decision. Me and you both been saying it for the last 2 years. It's a business decision. Like, the portal thing is out of hand and is annoying and all of that. But you can't be mad at these kids for making business decisions. But but there needs to be some rails.
Yeah, we can get into some portal talk here in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, like the final game, I think we both said it. The best game of the weekend, the most intriguing game of the weekend. Can the Fighting Ryan Days win a playoff game against an SEC opponent at home? Get that Michigan loss out of your mouth. Say, let's go on and try to move on in these playoffs. What happens? Who do you like in the horseshoe Saturday night?
Speaking of offenses that haven't done anything since probably week 4, the Tennessee offense has been
both of these teams. I was talking about it with Dave yesterday, and I both said, man, I was like, I do not like Tennessee, man. I don't know what it is.
No.
I don't like Tennessee.
Well, you saw the thing I sent you about Nico's touchdown. He has 18 touchdowns, and like 14 of them are against basically the bottom tier of the SEC and their non-conference opponents.
I know. And like I say, we like Sampson at running back. He's great. their receivers are a little bit to be less desired. Squirrel White's a good player.
They don't have a true number one.
Right. They don't have a Jalen Hyatt who's going to take the roof off and go for 200 yards.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
They're
good. They're a good group.
Their defense is really good.
Yeah.
You know, that's been what they've been leaning on.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the flip side, then you go to Ohio State. You're like, why is Ohio State not lighting it up every week? You would think that Ohio State should be scoring 50 a week, man, with that receiving core, those running backs. Like, so what's holding them back? Will Howard? I mean, like, what's going on? Like, what?
They should have dropped the bigger bag for Cam Ward. Imagine him with those receivers. Like,
no, I know
he was great with our receivers. Yeah, imagine with those receivers.
Yeah,
I think to me, like, I know you're criticizing the Ohio State offense. I don't think they've been bad.
Yeah,
it's bad to Ohio State standards.
I think what it is, I agree. I think what it is like you look at. I love those receivers, you know, and I love Henderson and Judkins as your running backs. So it's like I don't have Ohio State standards. I just feel like my standard is they should be scoring with no problem. Like when you go back and look at it,
but that's what
they scored 21 against Nebraska. They scored 20 against Penn State. You know, they scored 45 against Purdue, but hell, team scored 70 against Purdue. Yeah. You know, so it's
what I'm saying is, you look at Ohio State's offenses the last 5 years.
CJ Stroud's with the
I mean, outside of the couple games last year with your favorite quarterback Kyle McCord, when it mattered, they really didn't put up points. But you know, I don't know what it is. I just feel like if you can't run the ball, guess what? Jeremiah Smith, Emeka should have 15 targets apiece. Even if you're just giving them dump routes, quick little hitches, you know, whatever you could do to get the ball to those guys fast.
Here's the thing, Jeremiah Smith's he's got great numbers still.
He has great numbers.
934 and 10 touchdowns, you know.
But if you when you watch them play those sponge, I feel like they're not getting the ball to them quick. It's like they're running these long developing routes instead of saying, hey, my guy's better than yours. Let me get it to him faster. Carnell Tate, why wouldn't you get the ball to him quick and just let that speedster hit it? Yeah.
No, like I say, I agree. Even when you look at they've run it for 2,000 yards on the season. You know, they're splitting with those two backs. Like I say, it's I guess it just hasn't looked like effortless. It hasn't looked effortless.
Yeah. I think at this point you got to be creative. If you got to put Henderson and Buddy from Judkins on the field at the same time and run some fly motions and just moving, like, I think their offense is very stagnant. There's not a lot of motions and movement and whatnot. But I think I'm picking Ohio State to win this game just because I think that fast track is not going to be as fast as it possibly could be, because I don't think Ohio State Stadium, they're preparing to have the Winter Classic, the outdoor hockey game. So they've had to make upgrades to their heating systems to the field, because they've never had it, because they don't play this late into the season. So they've done some things to improve the stadium. So I'm curious to see how that field plays this weekend. And that Tennessee offense, I just think Nico hasn't done enough. And I like Ohio State's defense. Their defense is just as good as Tennessee's, but I think Ohio State could find a way to score enough points to win this game.
Part of me on the Tennessee thing is, you know, we can go back and we talk about schedule imbalance and all that crap with the SEC and all, you know, like, who is Tennessee beating? You know, they beat Alabama, which, you know, we talked about is so Jekyll and Hyde this year, where they've been good in games and they've been bad in games. Yeah. And, you know, that was a tight game where it could have went either way.
Game,
you know, shit.
Kendrick Law doesn't get a personal foul. I mean, Ryan Williams hits a block. Alabama could get down the field and possibly score.
Like I say, the Gators with Lagway, you know, if Billy goes for 2 or whatever, the Gators,
they win
to overtime. You know, like I say, but then after that, you know, they beat Oklahoma early in the season by 10. They didn't blow them out. They beat
a bad Oklahoma team.
They lost to Arkansas, and then, you know, they beat Kentucky and Mississippi State, UTEP, and Vandy to close out the year. Their other loss was to Georgia, and they got smoked in that game. So it's
funny.
I don't know. I haven't liked Tennessee all year.
So it's funny you bring this up, because people are complaining about just say Clemson being in, SMU being in, Boise and Arizona State, and you just read off their schedule.
Yeah.
Hell, that's on the lines of Indiana and Penn State.
It totally is. I totally agree. If you look at Tennessee and Texas's schedule, they're weak. They got the good end of the SEC schedule this year. They had to play one game.
That's the problem going forward. How do you make this? How do you make the schedule balance?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
What it is, it's just
it's hard to do because
exactly.
next year
you got 18 teams.
Next year, Michigan might be good, and they were sorry this year.
Well,
this year,
well, go ahead and pencil. Yeah, I was about to say, have you seen their schedule? Go ahead and pencil them in next year.
Who's
or Oregon?
Oh yeah. No, I looked
their
at
schedule is trash.
Yeah,
for next season.
They're not playing Ohio State. I think they get Penn State.
They play Michigan.
Home.
They play Michigan at Alton.
Okay.
I don't think they play Penn State. So it's like here we go again. But like you say, with too many teams, but at the same time, hey Missouri, take advantage of that soft schedule. Missouri didn't take advantage of that schedule.
No, we said at the beginning of the year, like the way their schedule imbalance was, like Missouri's going to sneak their way in the playoff because they don't have to play this team and this team. They're
Even
going to be
they lost to Alabama. Yeah.
Right. They were going to be 10-2 and they would get in. But yeah, like I say, it's again, that's going to be a topic of conversation every single year of you look at Indiana, Texas, Penn State even, and Tennessee, Alabama, like at least Alabama, Georgia, they had to play Murderers Row. That's like,
well, even Clemson.
Here's the thing.
Clemson can make that argument.
No, totally. I think like Ole Miss and South Carolina are better than Tennessee. I think Ole Miss and South Carolina would pose a bigger threat to Ohio State. Would you agree with that one?
But no, I
even
totally
Miami,
agree.
even the Canes. Like
I totally agree, but that's where we're at the moment.
No, it is, and
it sucks. It sucks because, like you say, are we truly seeing the 12 best teams?
I was literally about to say these are in my. It's not. It's not. But I mean,
it's the 12 teams that made it through it.
The
that's
problem,
what it is.
Again, the problem is though when you go and look like the infamous line on that L column is where you're like, well, yeah, we do have the best 12 teams because these teams. They lost their damn games they shouldn't have, or they, like I say, it is what it is.
The BCS model, the BCS model had Ole Miss and South Carolina
in the 12.
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly pull it up.
I haven't looked at but here's the problem in the BCS model. It would literally be 1 versus 2. We wouldn't even have a playoff.
No, just saying if the BCS was the committee,
did the numbers.
Yeah. So this is if the BCS did the college football bracket,
all right,
they would have SMU versus Boise State, the 7-10 match, moving on to play Texas. Then it had Ohio State, Alabama. I lied about the Ole Miss. It had Ohio State, Alabama as the 6-11. Ohio State would have been 6, with Notre Dame as the 3 seed. Then it would have had Georgia versus South Carolina, the 5-12. Going to Happy Valley. I mean, to play Penn State because, sorry, they don't go on the road at that round.
Right.
And then Oregon is the 1 seed waiting on the winner between Tennessee and IU. So South Carolina and Alabama would have been in, according to the BCS.
Yeah, so Clemson would have been out.
Arizona State would have been out.
Yeah,
I mean, that's still not too far from where we're at now.
No, it is not. And here's the thing. And like I say, I'll go ahead and give the nod to Clemson. And like I say, it's tough because South Carolina did just beat Clemson a week ago. So you're like, And then so now if you're saying who's better, Alabama or Arizona State, like I would say Alabama's better than Arizona State. I would say they played better. But I mean, that's where you're playing.
Arizona State's been playing hot, man.
I know
man for man. Yes, man for man.
I agree.
Alabama's probably better.
I know that's your dynasty team.
Man for man, Alabama is better talent wise.
That's where you go. That's where you use the Lane Kiffin and Saban argument of give Alabama Arizona State schedule, and then give Arizona State Alabama schedule. What's the record?
Tit for tat, but we're talking about in this moment. If they played head to head, Arizona State like in jump not jumping too
We would both
far
pick.
ahead.
We'd both pick Bama.
Probably. Like, if I'm Kenny Dillingham right now, I'm probably not happy with having a bye week. How my guys have been playing, you're happy with the bye week, but the way they've been hot, does these extra 2 weeks, does it cool them off a little bit going into next week's game against the winner of Clemson and Texas?
Yeah. No, like I say, I totally having a couple weeks off, the team's gonna like get that game in, get the game under the belt.
They've been hot. They've been hot this season.
No, they totally have. Like I say, I'm not gonna take nothing away from them. I just, it is what it is. That's just part of they got to play.
That's just where we're at.
Like I say, they lost to Texas and
at the
Cincinnati.
end of the day,
crazy.
But like I told you when talking about Miami, hey, win your games, man. If you win your games, it doesn't matter what anyone says. You're in.
Yeah, it would have been SMU and Miami would be in there. And that's part of me too, is like, that's where it comes down to where like, man, now I'd probably rather see this Miami offense in this thing to see if they could, like, can hold up, or is their defense going to be the eyesore that screws them up in the playoffs anyways?
Let's put it like this. It wouldn't be boring.
Yeah. No,
show me a boring Miami game this year.
Yeah, no, they definitely, every game was
outside of FAMU and Ball State.
Right. No, every game was obviously high flying. It was a shootout type situation, going back to like the Virginia Tech and the Cal game and all that. So it's
shit. They have people staying up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. watching that Cal game.
I think where we're going is going to be 16 anyway. So then they're in there now. So like again, this is the first year of this. You're gonna get like this is fun, so it is what it is with the matchups, so we'll see.
I just think like how we started off today, they need to leave wiggle room to where they could tweak it every year, every other year. Like, let's not tweak it to where we're getting teams in. Let's tweak it to where we're making the playoff better.
Yeah. So all right, well, let's fast forward here. We'll obviously break the games down when we find out who's playing who, but let's just hypothetical play. We all picked who we thought was going to win this week. So you got Texas, Arizona State would be next week. The following week, you got Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Boise, and then we'll go Notre Dame. We'll go Notre Dame, Georgia. So who do you like in those games if they're playing in 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks, I probably would lean Texas, but I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona State won. Like I say, they're hot. I think they could put up enough points. Texas's defense is good. The Texas offense got to show me something, man.
Yeah, like I say, let's see what they do Saturday for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Ohio State, Oregon, that's the one everybody's fiending for. If we reseed, we don't see that in round 2. That's why one of the reasons we need to reseed. Man, I another offense that's struggling, man. I guess I have to lean Oregon. I think Penn State will beat Boise State, and then the last one would be
Georgia, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame versus Georgia. We got to wait on that one. We don't know what the deal is with Carson.
Oh, he's done. He's out.
So why is Georgia in the playoff?
Well, they won the SEC championship for one. So it's an automatic qualifier this year. That wasn't that wasn't a requirement in last year's playoff.
I'm just saying, Florida State won the conference last year. And I'm definitely not changing my stance on what happened last year. I'm just saying that should be a criteria. But
well, I mean, it definitely could be a criteria piece. But when they changed the rules where it's automatic qualifier for a conference champ, you knew they were going to put them in. So that was just the non-discussion.
Still,
here's the thing. Here, all right. So Carson's out. He's not playing. He's got a torn UCL. Like, he's done. I don't know why they haven't come out and said he's had surgery or none of that.
I'll take the under, and I think Notre Dame may upset Georgia. I just don't know. I know Kirby's gonna get what's his name? Was it Gunner?
Yep, Gunner Stockton, baby.
Gunner
Stetson
Stockton
Bennett 2.0.
I mean, hell, your receivers weren't catching with one of the better quarterbacks in the country. It makes me think I expect a lot of probably RPO, a lot of QB run next week. But when it comes down to throwing the football, I have zero confidence in Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah, see, I'm where I need to see it. Obviously, you don't get to see him in round one because they got to buy. Yeah. I've seen Gunnar Stockton obviously at high school ball, all that he threw for 50,000 touchdowns in high school. So he's not a Stetson Bennett. He's a Stetson Bennett-esque player.
I don't give two about what he did in high school.
Oh, trust me. I agree. I think that Kirby and them, Bobo and them will scheme something up. The big thing will be, ETN's back healthy, and he's actually looked pretty good in that Texas game. So it's like he had 2 huge games against Texas, obviously, where he was kind of healthy. So if he's healthy with Frazier, they're obviously going to lean on that with, like you say, RPO game. Can Arian Smith catch a freaking forward pass, besides a 9-ball? Does Delp and those guys help him out? Like, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I think that Gunnar Stockton is a guy who's better than like a Brock Glenn or a Tate Rodemaker. He's actually been in the program for multiple years. He's not just a freshman who's not been around. So the question is, how's he going to look? And that's where nobody knows because you only got to see the second half of him, 2 weeks ago. So I think that's going to be a major question mark. But I love what Georgia can do defensively. Those guys, like I say, they can look just phenomenal. Obviously, they had the terrible game against Ole Miss, where Ole Miss was able to just kind of do whatever they wanted. But I don't know. We'll see. Like I say, Georgia, it's definitely going to be an interesting watch to see where they go with Beck being out. And like I say, what's weird about Beck is, like, if you talk to some Georgia fans, like even me talking to Justin, he's like, dude, Beck was going to be the guy that was going to like hold them back in a sense. He was going to be the guy that could take you there, or he was going to be the guy to absolutely just shit the bed, throw 3 picks, and blow you a game. To whereas, does Gunnar Stockton play more conservative, not taking any chances, and we'll see.
Well, I hope Justin's ready for one more year of Carson Beck.
Right, man. The Lambo, get him another Lambo truck.
I think he's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, his draft stock has probably
before the injury was kind of
that's what I'm saying. He's thrown. Yeah, it definitely took a hit. Like he was before the season was like
But like I said,
Beck or Shedeur Sanders.
But I also give Carson a pass because hey, just turn on Sundays. Just look what's going on in Oakland and with the Chargers, with Ladd McConkey and Brett Bowers or Brock Bowers. Sorry, with Brock Bowers. I mean, those two. Brock Bowers set the tight end rookie record.
Yeah, he's gonna have
and McConkey is having a hell of a year.
He's in the top like 7 or 8 yards. McConkey is.
So you take those 2 guys out of any offense, and I don't care who you are, like. The production numbers of losing those 2 hit them totally. And like I say, as bad as Carson has played, they lead the nation in drops. So that's why I say next week.
Aaron Smith has been just he's the fastest guy on the field a lot of times, and he'll blow by everybody.
Yeah,
and then he'll drop the simplest dig route that hits him right in the 11. So it's just like, dude, he's like I say, love it.
We'll have to see it. We'll have to see it next week, but as of right now, with no Carson, I have the lean. I picked Notre Dame to win. I have the lean, but if somehow Indiana wins and they play Georgia, no. I think Georgia will just line up in the old Mark Richt.
You don't like Indiana versus Georgia?
They'll line up in the old Mark Richt offense and call it a day.
Yeah, I think they're going to do that anyways, possibly, and just run it with Etienne and Frazier.
Yeah,
and then just.
But I think it'll be easier. I think it'll be easier against Indiana than it would be against Notre Dame.
Yeah, like I say,
just my opinion.
Yeah. No, I can't gauge it either. Like I say, Notre Dame, they've been good. Obviously, that was week 2, man. A blip on the radar.
Yeah,
you have no business losing to Northern Illinois.
No, I mean you're breaking in a new quarterback. It all depends. For the rest of the playoffs, how long ever they're there, it all comes down on the shoulders of Riley Leonard. How does Riley Leonard play? I think they're pretty good in most other positions. I don't think they have a receiver that's like a great receiver that's a world beater. They just have a lot of solid guys, and they just do what they do. They have a good head coach. It just comes down to Riley Leonard in that, and going forward, even in the Indiana game. Don't turn the ball over, because he could have 150 rushing and 150 passing, and that's with 3 touchdowns, and that could be a great day for the Notre Dame offense.
Yeah, what's crazy is when you look at, receiver-wise, like the highest receiver for Notre Dame is Bo Collins with 427 yards. It's kind of crazy.
They're a running team for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, because Riley's thrown it for 2,000 yards though, so that's that's the deceiving part.
Yeah, you're just spreading the ball. You're spreading the ball around.
Yeah, next guy is Greathouse with 345. Then the tight end has 272. Then the next guy has 211 and 206, 190. Like basically, all these guys at the bottom have about 200 yards receiving, and so it's like this guy's got 200, that guy's got 200, this guy's got 190. Love has 950 on the ground, and Riley Leonard's got 721 on the ground. They both have basically 29 touchdowns between them on the run, on the rushing end. So, like I say, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. My biggest takeaway was I think Texas is set up to be in good shape. Obviously, I think Texas and Oregon, that'd be a heck of a ball game.
Yeah, you mean,
but again,
Penn State's set up for great shape.
No, I think Penn State's set up to be in great shape. I think Penn State could be in the damn national championship.
Hey, James Franklin's going to get his extension.
Can you imagine that? Like Penn State gets SMU, they get Boise, then they either get Notre Dame.
Since we're on that subject, for some reason, if James Franklin loses one of these first 2 games, can you just get on my side with James Franklin? I'm just saying, dude.
Well, what side do you want me to get on? I think he's a good coach.
He's a good coach, but
he's not a championship.
Might be time for Penn State to move on.
Yeah. No, I mean
he's in Mark Richt territory.
Oh, for
he
sure.
really is.
No, we've talked about his record versus top teams is god awful. It's horrendous.
0-12 against top 5 teams.
No, it's terrible. He has like 1 win against, top 10 teams. I mean, it's the bigger question is what happens if Ryan Day loses to Tennessee?
Whew. Boy, I was talking to one of the guys on the Columbus crew, and he was at the game. And I was like, how was that game? He goes, I really don't even want to talk about it. He goes, I think he's a great coach. I wouldn't fire him. He goes, I'm not one of those delusional Ohio State fans. He's like, but at the same time, he's like, you got to win that game.
Yeah.
I think he gets 1 more year. Regardless of what happens in the playoff, I think it's almost too late in the cycle for you to move coaches, because you can't open up that 30-day window. You just can't open up that 30-day window if you lose the game, if you're Ohio State. Because if that 30-day window opens, you might as well say next year is going to suck too.
Yeah, no, like I say, it's that. Like I say, that'll segue. We'll talk a little portal talk. You can't fire Ryan Day even if they lose to Tennessee in round 1.
Right, he's 47-1 outside of Ohio State game. I mean, the Michigan game.
You still got a ton of studs. You've had basically big time recruiting classes. You got good players. The question now is who's going to be the quarterback next year.
I think they'll be fine. They'll find somebody. They'll get somebody.
No, I would totally agree. I mean, it's just the problem is like that's what Speaking of like just the portal window and the timing and all that is
window.
James Franklin, like he came out and said it, like he was talking about their backup quarterback. He hit the portal and like he was like he felt bad for the kid because the kid actually he wants to transfer because Drew Allar's coming back. He wants the opportunity to go play somewhere else. So he totally gets that as a kid and a player. He feels bad for the player because it's like this guy actually has worked. He's worked the whole season as the backup. He would like to continue on playing at Penn State. But
So the
school
only
starts in
thing
January.
I was about to say, the only thing you could do, truthfully, but it doesn't help anyone, is you move the portal back to the spring and you only have one transfer portal outside of if a coach leaves or gets fired, and then it could automatically open up the portal. But because the schedule kind of sucks and there's nothing you could do, just because, like you just said, school. If you push the portal back, some classes have already started in January, whereas the northern schools probably don't start till February, the end of January. So the only thing you could do is have one portal window, and it have to be after the spring practice. That's the only thing you could do.
Yeah, and like I say, you're exactly right, because it's literally come down to the calendar of when school's in session. So that, again, I don't know what, like you just said, I don't know what you can do. So the reason why they keep the two portals open is basically it gives these guys an option. If they want to leave, they can leave. Yeah. Yes, it sucks for the backup quarterback for Penn State. He wants to be the backup quarterback and go on this playoff run. And, what if Drew Riley gets hurt? He plays or whatever, he just wants to, he's a part of the team, but guess what?
Yeah.
He realizes I'm not going to play next year because Aller's coming back. I need to go try to find a spot, because guess what? All these other teams who have lost, their guys are leaving and the spots are getting filled up. So you're like, I need to go somewhere so I can go find a spot for myself. And so it's like, it puts the kids in a tough spot because they're just trying to find a home. And, it's just the timing of it. As far as the portal goes too, like they've got to come up with a cap.
Parameters.
They got to come up with a cap on the money, so that there's not that much incentive to keep leaving every year. And then there's got to be, yes, exactly. There's got to be, in my opinion, they need to have, it used to be where, you'd have to sit out and all that crap. You don't have to do all that. You should get two transfers, and that's it, out of your 5 years that you're in there. You get your one mulligan, and they'll give you one more. But like this Bear Alexander going bing, bing, bing every year to a new place, like I say, they're just going to keep on doing it because he's a 5-star. It didn't work out for them. It'll work out for us. We can change this guy.
Well, it might even need to be tougher than that, because
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out.
Even if you give two, I mean, what do you do? Like, what can you come up and be creative and say, automatically your freshman year you have to stay? But even your freshman year your freshman year technically, football wise, ends right this month.
Yeah.
So if you leave and go for your sophomore year, you play wherever, you could leave again, is what you're saying?
Right.
And then you're stuck. No. But if you graduate,
then you'd be stuck.
But if you graduate, you get another opportunity.
Yeah.
So theoretically,
see, I don't know.
I've been saying for the last couple of years.
That's definitely a loophole for sure.
Yeah. So in the last thing I've been telling people for the last couple of years, especially people who have kids playing football or sports, get your AA before you get out of high school, to where your grad year is starting before your junior year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like, I think with the portal thing, there probably just needs to be incentives in the contract saying that, hey, if you sign and take this money, you have to play here minimum of 2 years.
Right. That part, the contract, and then I'm telling you, if you put like a salary cap style on it to where like they know that they're not going to go get this big huge bag, like if you transfer here, you're only getting $50K, but like I say, then you're putting like, they should do that to where it doesn't incentivize them to leave.
Well, you look at Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech. Why? You're the starting receiver at Georgia Tech,
right?
Like, you're leaving. The only reason you're leaving is to go get money. Isaiah Horton, you're leaving Miami because you're going to go get money. Like, a lot of the guys that are leaving your school, Jack Pyburn, you're only leaving because you're going to get money. And it's like, it sucks because we're all capitalists until it's someone else making the money. But at the same time, the sport we love is getting ruined because kids are, like you say, the Bear Alexanders of the world are just hopping from place to place to place. But then how do you stunt the other kids that truly, like the kid from Penn State, his only opportunity to play is if he leaves and goes to a Mississippi State or North Texas or, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well,
so it's hard.
No, I know. Cause going back to like Pyburn, for example, his was a money issue, and more so it was of guaranteed snaps and timing, playing.
Yeah.
And so they actually put money into Caleb Banks returning, obviously at the defensive tackle, different position.
And he probably saw that and was like, hey, where's mine?
And then on the flip side, they've got that 5-star LJ McCray, who needs more snaps. So it's like he might be potentially better than you, and he's younger than you. So he's going to play more. And then they probably re-up Gums, after his great season. He plays the same position. Yeah. And he looked like a monster out there. Pyburn had a great year. I didn't want to see him go.
You sure it wasn't because he planted the flag in Tallahassee?
Yeah, maybe that helped out.
He's got a bonus for that.
Maybe he got a bonus for planting the flag. So, so again, but I mean, hell, like I say, Cersei just hit the portal, and we kind of I heard the rumor of that was going to happen. So he's probably going to go to Texas A&M.
But I think the problem like me and you have about the portal is it's not guys getting their opportunity. It's the ones where you're just scratching your head like, why are you leaving there to go somewhere else? Like, now granted, we don't know the back end of the situation, but at the same time, like you say, I know I keep saying Bear Alexander, but guys like that just keep hopping from place to place to place to place, and you're just like, all right, this is not a good look. And then the problem is there are coaches out there that are willing to sell their soul because a Bear Alexander goes. Now he's friends with a Deuce Robinson, and Deuce Robinson is committed to Penn State, the wide receiver from USC. So you might be getting these package deals for a lot of these guys. Sure. Like you look at Washington State. Washington State's probably not happy today that their starting quarterback is in the portal for a second year in a row, and they're leaving. So it's like it's hard to say. I can't fault the kid from making maybe $50K at Washington State, and he could go to Oklahoma or Miami and make $1 million. Even if he makes 700,000, that's still an upgrade. But we've been saying it from the beginning that the adults in the room need to come up with a cap, need to come up with parameters with how much they make, how many years you need to be at your university, kind of like how they did with baseball. Baseball with college, either you go pro to the MLB, but if you sign that letter of intent, you have to go to that. You have to be in college for 3 years.
Right.
Now, I mean, their portal still is just as crazy as football, but there's got to be something done about it.
Well, like I say, you going back to the Isaiah Horton and the Georgia Tech kid, basically, they're the starting receivers there, but now they're like, shit, I want to get more money, and I'll go play for Alabama or Tennessee, where my quarterback might be one of these better quarterbacks, and I'll get more money and go play for a contender. To whereas Georgia Tech, it's like, we were good. Yes, Miami's good, but my boy Cam Ward's gone, so now I got Emory throwing me the ball, or should I go play for Texas? I'm gonna go get more money, and that's what I'm saying. I can't fault either one of them for that either.
But then sometimes it doesn't work out. Look at Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond is still Isaiah Bond, but if you look at his numbers, Isaiah Bond didn't have a great year.
No, he didn't. He's not compared to what he's had in the past 2 years with Milroe.
So it's kind of a give and take, but at the same time, I hate it because you got to relearn your whole roster every year, and
it's annoying because it's annoying because again, we'll go back to the Pyburn situation. This kid he was a lifelong Gator fan, as a kid. His only offer was like Minnesota. He was going to go to Minnesota.
Shit, he was close to signing with Minnesota because Florida jumped in the last minute.
Yeah, he was committed. He was committed and was going to sign, and then the Gators offered. So he's like, hell yeah, that's my dream school. Goes there, winds up being a major contributor, and then now he's like, okay, I got some demands, and it's like, well, we're not going to meet those demands, so I'm leaving. Is it sour grapes? Is it bitter? Maybe. But like I say, guess what? Go ahead, go to LSU. play your senior year at LSU, get some money, and then it more so is like Pyburn probably is not going to make it in the NFL. He might be a special teams guy, maybe where he can latch on for a few years in the league, but he's not going to be this first round, DN coming
but
out.
He probably guarantees himself money to where it doesn't hurt if he doesn't get to the NFL. That's the part that's like hard to say.
Yeah, that's where we don't know how much more did you get from LSU than staying at Florida. I don't know. How significant was it?
Even with your other favorite quarterback out in Utah, if he comes back for his 29th year, Cam Rising, I mean, I can't be mad at him. We know Cam Rising's not going to play in the NFL, but if Cam Rising can come back to Utah and get a nice little bag of, just say, even if it's $500,000, that's going to be more than what Cam Rising is going to get his first day on the job outside of sports. So it's like, for me personally, it's like a double-edged sword. Like, I'm not mad that these kids are going to get money, but at the same time, it is kind of annoying.
No, it is
watching names where you're just like, you're leaving that situation to go to that situation. Like, all right, sure.
Yeah. No, like I say, the good news for the Gators these past week or whatever is the fact that you did assure Caleb Banks is coming back. He's a big time defensive tackle, had a great season. And then just in the last 2 days, your starting center and your starting left tackle are coming back. That's huge, So, and then even Damian George allegedly was going to go in the portal and decided he was not going to go in the portal. Rumor had it that like some of the younger guys might be pushing maybe we're going to play some of these younger cats over a Damian George. So,
yeah,
there was the room like the Rod Kearneys from Orange Park was, allegedly he's been looking good. So like, let's get this young guy in there. So go ahead, leave George. But I guess he decided, you know what, I'm going to come back. So
I mean,
the Florida offensive line looks like it's going to be intact with Lagway and Ball and those guys.
Since we're talking about Florida, they play in a couple days. What do you think about Armstrong leaving as the DC? Who are the names to bring in? And then before you hop into that, I like Florida against Tulane. Obviously, Mensa's not there to play quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah.
I still think with Mensa, I still think Florida is good enough. They didn't lose a lot of guys portal or opting out. I think that defensive line would stop Micah Hughes in that backfield. Yeah. Obviously, you got to cover Mario Williams, but I with everyone playing and Lagway being healthy, I like Florida, and I like Florida to cover.
Yeah, I like. Even if they had the quarterback, I think the Gators still found a way to win the game.
Yeah, I just think they're just better. They're just better.
In the situation that Tulane's in now, I think the Gators, they would just have to play horrible. But I think they're kind of in that springboard type of where everybody's bought in. They're, like you say, no opt-outs. Everybody wants to play. Lagway's looking good. You know that Montreal's going to want to really tote the ball in his last game. Ball's been toting it. Jacoby's been toting it. So,
for a lot of guys, it's still, as much as we just talked about the portal, it's still an audition for the springtime portal just as much.
Sure. That's what I'm saying. And so, you're going to lose Badger and DK. Both of those guys want to do something. So that'll be interesting. Like I say, the Gators get in on one of these big time receivers. Do they wait for the spring window to get one? Because that's what's crazy is me and Dave were talking about that the other day. Is like, we got Pearsall and Badger in the spring window, so we didn't get those guys in the early portal window. So you can wait. You don't have to be like, oh, we got to get a guy now. We got to get a guy now. Just
exactly.
Wait for the right guy, scout the right guys. Because everybody thought that the kid from Miami of Ohio was going to be a big Gator get, or the UCLA kid who came on a visit, or there was the ECU guy. Like those were all guys that like Florida was like, oh, we got to get these guys. Well, they decided to go somewhere else.
I think there's more fans, and it's been driving me nuts. Totally. Even with the Miami fan group on Twitter, is like, dude, y'all want everybody.
Yeah.
Heck, if Michael Jordan went into the damn portal, y'all would want him and find the spot to put him on the field. Yeah. This is like, man, you literally can't have everyone that puts their name into the damn transfer portal.
Oh, see, here you go. Here's one for you right now. The kid that Gator Day was like, I love this guy. He's a freaking beast. You'll have to go look at his tape. Jacksonville State freshman safety Poiser.
Yeah, he was down there on a visit.
Yeah, is expected. This was 19 minutes ago. Expected to transfer to Miami. He's
Well,
the
I
number 2
I
safety.
expected Miami to spend heavy in the secondary this upcoming year.
We were talking about, like, me and Gator Dave wanted him, at Florida, obviously. So that's a big get for the Canes right now, because you're trying to shore up that secondary that had problems. Yep. He's one of those guys, and like I say, this is where the portal's good. This guy's at Jacksonville State.
That's what
he's a freaking monster.
Yeah, he's
gonna go get a bag. He's gonna go get a bag, and now he's gonna be a great player for Miami.
Even the kid from Grambling. I was kind of talking to Sam about that guy, the linebacker. Yeah, he's upgrading and getting the money. So, like, there's good and bad to the portal, right? Like, the good is kids like that are being able to say, I didn't come in as a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and I've upgraded. The Jared Verses of the world, the Braden Fisk, hell, the Cam Wars, who were 0-star and hell up for the Heisman. So they're like the greatest stories about it, but it's just, but how do you applaud them, but then get mad at the kids like the Eric Singletons, the Isaiah Hortons, the, guys like that, Jack Pyburns, for saying, hey, man, I'm going to lead the Van Burens from Mississippi State, who's going to LSU now. How do you be mad at them for getting a better situation, I guess you would say? I guess it just looks bad when you're just going from just like a Dumas Johnson. You leave Georgia as a starting middle linebacker, and then you go to Kentucky. Yeah. And you're like I say, that makes no sense to me, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like I say, until they put, guardrails, like you said, until they put some parameters, until they put some caps.
It's a salary cap. Like you say, if they put a salary cap at the Power 4 level and everyone's making the same.
Exactly. Your incentive is to stay where you're at,
But then we go back to the McDonald's bags like they do up in Knoxville.
Right. I'm
gonna give you a look. That's all that's gonna happen.
No, you're 100% right. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Your Big Mac container is going to be
that's where the question is there going to be some penalties if you get caught doing that, or is it just going to be like
the
bagman's back in business?
Basically, the bagman's been sitting on the sideline the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, they're still paying, but I know what you're saying. Not under the table, but
I could sit $30K in front of the kid right now and no one could say anything.
Yeah, no, like I say, it is what it is, and we kind of knew this was all going on. So it's like now it's just like you got to deal with it. It just sucks because
that's all you can do, man.
You always want to like build around a kid that commits to your school, and you're like, yes, we got this guy for 3 or 4 years. It's not like it was 20 years ago where you knew this guy was committing to the Canes because he loved the U, and it ain't that.
I mean, it's no different. It's no different than bowl games. To be honest with you now, like if you're looking at a lot of these bowl games, like one of the reasons why we're not talking about the bowl games is you don't even know who's playing.
Exactly. That's the part of me the other day when you and Steve were talking about it. It was like, I don't even want to do the bowl thing. Like, I don't know who's playing in what game anymore.
Yeah.
Marshall had to completely opt out because they got too many transfers. So not even playing in the game.
That's a whole totally different situation.
I know. I'm just saying.
Because I mean, obviously, I know the Miami kids said they're playing. Right. I wouldn't be surprised the day of the game, Cam Ward's chilling on the sideline in a tracksuit. Restrepo saying he may not play. He doesn't know yet. Florida, we know majority of their guys. So, like, if you know majority of the guys that are playing, just go ahead and put a little change on those teams because they should win.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a team, who am I thinking? Army, Navy, maybe, just because they're not having opt-outs.
Yeah.
They're not
good. Your Navy boys came and balled out.
I was surprised because I would have picked Army in that game.
Yeah, I would have picked Army as well.
They had Navy had a bunch of good little wrinkles in their offense.
Yeah, Horvath was killing it on the ground. I actually watched a little bit of the Army Navy game. Be proud of me.
That QB counter they were running.
Yeah, that was
power counter, whatever the hell you want to call it.
His uniforms are pretty sick too, both teams.
Yeah. No, I for sure would have took Army because I think I liked how Army was playing this year, and then that that offensive line, man, they've been great all year, and Navy was just like, not today, not today.
Yeah. No, for sure, it was good. Like I say,
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens. But like I say, I guess you coming through on Saturday? Then we're gonna watch the games. You coming over?
Sure, I got to work,
All right.
but I could come over afterwards, catch the
Because
evening.
Yeah, Haiti was like, go ahead. She was like, no big, huge parties like we did from Florida State. We got to get to Christmas with no sicknesses. So she's like, Faro can come over, but don't invite anybody else. I was like,
even though you're inviting everybody else now.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'll hit Ricky up and see if he wants to come through. But she said she was going to do probably some last minute Christmas shopping and running around. So I was like, all right, go for it. So
you're like, perfect.
Yeah, I was like, good. I mean, it's not like she's going to be back like super late, but obviously they'll be on from 12 to night game, 8 o'clock for the Tennessee game. So, so yeah, that's fine. We'll I'll hit up Ricky and see what he says, but yeah, we'll figure something out.
Should be some good games. I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued by that the Tennessee Ohio State game. I mean, all of them. Don't get me wrong, all of them. I'm intrigued to watch. But definitely that Tennessee Ohio State game is, like I say, to me the top slated game of the weekend. And then obviously you got the NFL game, and then another game that I probably won't watch because football's on. But that USC UConn women's basketball game, man, that would be pretty good. Paige Beckers versus Juju.
Is that Saturday too?
That's Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's too much going on.
Yeah, Gators get the Tar Heels tonight in the Jordan Classic, baby. Up to number 7 in the country.
Your Gators are looking good. My Kings look like poo.
Yeah, no, I knew the Gators were going to be good this year. They had all those guards coming back. Walter Clayton coming back. Will Richard coming back.
I mean, this probably be their toughest challenge of the season so far, even though Carolina's not like great.
It's definitely going to be a good game, I think, tonight. But I love the FAU transfer, Mitchell. He's been great. So you got 3 good guards.
Yeah, Mitchell's pretty good. He's a baller at FAU.
Yeah. So like I love, like I say, we'll see where it's at. But like I say, Gators are I think a 4-point favorite. The game's in Charlotte though, so it'll be like a home game for North Carolina. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. But I'll probably still end up watching Memphis, West Virginia.
Yeah, that's the bowl game tonight for sure. Yeah.
What you think about Rich Rod going back to
Rich Rod, baby?
What'd you think?
It's weird these retreads here. Rich Rod and then
hell, we didn't even talk about Billy
Mullen
B.
Mullen to UNLV.
Chapel Bill.
Billy check.
Yeah, Billy. I think
sign the damn paper.
I think that's a great place for Dan Mullen. It's under the radar. We know he could scheme it up. He probably doesn't have to recruit as hard as he wants. What do you think about the Florida State hires before we get out of here? I know we're extending this.
Yeah, plus we got Scott Frost going back to UCF too.
Scott Frost back to UCF.
What's weird is I'm not a
Gus Malzahn fan. I know you're going to say that.
Yeah, I like his. I like
it's a reach. I feel like he was a reach. Like
it's just a weird situation. Why Malzahn must have felt like he might be getting fired, dude.
Yeah.
Why do you leave a head coaching job that's a downgrade?
Especially a Power 4 head coaching job.
Or that's I'm going to be here for 1 year and then go get another job. So it's not.
Or is it Chip Kelly type situation? He doesn't want the stress of recruiting anymore.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe it could be that. I mean,
Gus he's not young anymore.
Yeah, as far as the defensive stuff goes, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm not like Nebraska didn't have the greatest defense, but
I like Terrence Knighton as the D-line coach. So
yeah, I mean that's. As far as Armstrong leaving, I knew Armstrong was leaving a couple weeks ago. I heard. I think it's great. Good job. Good luck at Houston. That's probably where he should have started before he got the Gator gig. But what I've heard more and more was he's been a glorified cheerleader it's actually been Roberts calling the defense when they had everything after that bye week. And so now the question mark is I've heard Roberts might be out too after the bowl game. So we might be looking for a new DC, and I think Billy is looking at, hiring an OC. So could we see Cade? Could we see, somebody else?
Cade was going to UCF.
Oh, yeah, he is. My bad. There you go.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens down in Coral Gables. There's been a lot of rumblings about Dawson possibly leaving. I don't know where. Obviously, the whole fan base wants Lance Guidry gone. I wonder
Yeah,
why.
Your boy was which one was tweeting during the SEC game?
Hey, Shannon Dawson.
Let me take
Shannon
a nap.
Dawson was like
woke
9
up.
points. What is this,
I
baseball?
I woke up from my nap and still haven't scored. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Kane's Twitter could be funny at times, and I was shocked to see. I thought it was a burner account to be honest
Right,
with you for a while, and then after a while, I was like, oh no, that's really Shannon Dawson. Yeah, so I'm curious to see what happens with him, and the coaching carousel is crazy. Like Scott Frost going back to UCF, I think that's where he should have stayed. It's not always good to go back home.
Yeah.
The expectations at Nebraska, I think, were just through the roof, especially when it's a former player like that coming back, and they've been clamoring for it to be the glory days because Nebraska hasn't been good in over 20 years. Like
Yeah,
they've been
sure.
like as bad as Miami's
They're
been.
good on the dynasty. They're good on the dynasty.
Yeah. As bad as Miami's been the last 20 years, I think Nebraska's been worse than Miami.
Yeah, for sure. Totally.
But yeah, we're still going to have some coaching carousel stuff going on. Rich Rod back to West Virginia. It looks like the old alumni is happy about that. The McAfees and the Pac-Man Joneses of the world, they look like they're happy. But then, guys like that are probably going to donate more to their NIL as well. I mean, we got Bill B and Lombardi taking shots at Mario. But yeah, it's fun.
For sure. Like I say, Mike Norvell's giving back $4.5 million of his salary. So.
I don't think that was by choice. They can call it whatever they want. I don't think that was by choice.
What's weird too is apparently what Dave was saying too was Billy was like trying to give some of his salary towards the NIL, but it was like not frowned upon and all that stuff. So yeah, we'll see what happens with all that. Obviously Brian Kelly's donating $1 million, so all that's wild. But
yeah, even Kenny D Dillingham, putting some of his bonuses towards support staff and whatnot. I think that's just all public lip service. Hey, look at me. This is what we're doing. Fans donate money. I mean, the week before, Kenny Dillingham was on the podium trying to get the Valley to donate more money to keep a lot of those guys. I mean, with Tyson to come back and a lot of the guys not to transfer out because that's just where we're at right now until those guardrails are put up, and hopefully they are. We just need to get rid of the stupid playoff committee, get a czar, as they would say, get a commissioner to run college football, and kind of just straighten these things out, which won't happen, but should happen.
We could have it. We can dream about it. But
yeah, we could dream about it. I mean, there should be. I mean, if you want it to be the NFL, damn it, make it the NFL.
Yeah,
you're going to have a commission body.
It's the minor league, so let them, do it. Get it right. Get it right.
Just get it right. The last thing I don't want to happen, as much as we complain about non-conference games, I think the big schools still at least minimum one game to play the FAMs, the Gramblings, the schools like that, because those are money games to keep those the sports programs going.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You got to play those games
because you see where Grambling's going up to the Horseshoe next year,
right? Like I said, that funds volleyball and
soccer,
softball,
women's bowling, or whatever else. Yeah, so those games are important. So we can't get rid of those, but at the same time, we don't need Alabama playing Mercer and Eastern Washington and God knows, they played Wisconsin, but we don't need teams playing 2 of those 2 and 3 like Missouri. Missouri can't be playing 3 FCS opponents.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that totally.
All right, homie.
All right, brother. I'm gonna get out of here. We'll holler at you. Y'all enjoy your games, and we'll get back at you with the next round of some playoff talk next week. I don't know. We'll figure out how we're gonna fit it in with Christmas and all that stuff. So we'll figure it out, and we'll get back at you, and we'll holler at you. So enjoy your college football, NFL, whatever you want to watch, and we'll holler at you. Appreciate all the
like, subscribe, share.
Bing. Holler.